We can struggle many times trying to figure out what is the right thing for us to do in our life. How do we get to a point where we can actually do the things we like to do and actually feel good doing them? Many of us are stuck working jobs and doing things that we don't want to do. Maybe we thought we wanted to do them, but every time we do something, it's just not fulfilling for us. We feel this sense of emptiness and we feel like we have to do something else. There's a perpetual feeling of continuing to look for things to do, but never finding that fulfillment that we're looking for. And the reason this is because we're not used to following our intuition, or our intuition gets confused with our instinct, or reacting to the world around us rather than following what we would like to do for ourselves. So doing the right thing is different for everyone. And the reason this is because we're all individuals with different things we would like to do. On this channel, I help you let go of your past in order for you to forge a new way forward in having a new mentality so that you can create the life that you want, so you don't have to be a victim to your past anymore. I help bring old stories to life, and I apply everything to yourself as an individual, whether that's the Bible, astrology, whatever it may be. And you'd be surprised at how many stories and things in this world apply to yourself. When it comes to making the right choice for yourself, this is a very individualistic choice that you have to make. Two people cannot make the same right choice, and generally we base the right choice off of whether it's good or bad. And now, the reason this is not always a good thing is because when we're too focused on trying to do the right thing or do something good, we end up doing something bad for ourselves sometimes. And this happens with people who are very do-gooders, and I was one of those people, where everything that was filtered as right for me was always about somebody else subconsciously. And this is why I had a hard time finding peace for the longest time. For me, it was always driven into my head by the church. The church has generally taught me to deny myself. And now what this means is I don't go first. I have to put my attention on helping others. And now considering others means that I go last. First, satisfy God, do the right thing, then help others, and then help myself. I go absolutely last. And this is because the Bible generally says, deny yourself. But what does this really mean? Because we have to learn how to make the right choices for ourselves. But there needs to be a degree of what we know what to do. So this is where it gets into intuition versus instinct and taking yourself into account. Because when you're taught this and when you're taught things like put other people first or always do things like this, somebody is always putting a message in your head telling you this is the right thing to do. No, this is the right thing you should do, and you should do this thing. There's so much things happening within your own head that you're confused about what the next step to make is. So when we're talking about intuition versus instinct, instinct is generally what we think we should do based off of what we see around us or what has infiltrated our own mind. This is what instinct is in the context of comparing it to intuition. And this is because instinct has two words that are distinct, which is in, which means in yourself, and then stinct. So it makes up the word instinct. Now, instinct comes from the root word to instigate. When something instigates you, it causes you to react. And I speak about this a lot, where we're constantly reacting to the world around us. So we don't want to be in a state where we're constantly just reacting. Something happens, and then this means that we have to react in this way. And this is how we end up doing things that we don't want to do. So we can think that we want to do something, but this is all the things that people have told us, whether it's family, friends, putting messages in our head, telling us we should do this, we should do that. So we react a certain way and say, okay, well, I should do this because this person said that I should. The hard part is filtering out everything that's not our own idea and what is someone else's idea, because someone else's idea can be masquerading as our own idea, because it can feel like all of the ideas and all the actions we take come from ourselves. But in reality, we're just reacting instinctually. Now, intuition is very similar to instinct, but there is a difference. Intuition comes from two words, in again, and tuition. And tuition is commonly associated with school, where we say you're going to pay for your tuition. The tuition cost is this much. Now, tuition just means learning or some kind of schooling. Now, intuition means inner learning, where something is speaking to you, something is telling you something, intuition. Now, this is different from instinct because it comes from yourself. It's inner learning. You're not reacting to something. Now, your intuition will always guide you to the right way. Instinct comes from what happens from the outside. So you usually react to something. So it's instinctual for you to react a certain way when there is a certain stimuli causing you to react. So it's instinctual for you to move out of the way when someone tries to punch you in the face, for example. You instinctually move. This is outside causing you to react. So it's a natural thing for you to instinctually do something. Intuition comes from within. Instinct versus intuition. You have to understand the way that your brain works. Now, when it comes to outside things, this is governed by the left side of your brain, where it's logical, and it has to do with matters of the physical world, numbers, tangible things, and evidence. Now, the right side of the brain is more abstract, imaginative, having to do with things like music, things you cannot experience the same. So, instinct is more left brain, and now intuition comes from the right side of the brain. So, when you are trying to figure out the right thing to do in your life, this is why it is called the right thing, because the right way just simply means what your intuition is telling you to do. The right side of your brain, this is where your intuition dwells, not your left, because your left just determines what's happening outside of you. So something is speaking to you within yourself, and this comes from that imaginative, abstract side of yourself, the right side. This is why the language is the righteousness of God, doing the right thing, the right side of your brain. And here's another perfect Bible verse to describe this message. In John 21 and verse 6, it says, "And he said unto them, Cast the net on the right side of the ship, and ye shall find. They cast therefore, and now they were not able to draw it for the multitude of fishes." The backstory is that they were fishing and they were casting it on the left side of the boat, and they were getting nothing. And then they were told to cast their net on the right side, and that's when they got a whole lot of fish. Their nets were overflowed with fishes, and they didn't know what to do with it. So now, this is what it's describing esoterically, symbolically. When you follow your intuition, this is associated with doing the right thing, because that is where your intuition will lead you. This is where you're supposed to be guided. What happens is, many times, our intuition is confused with our instinctual reaction or the past things we have experienced and learned. All the things that the world, media is always trying to put in our heads, this gets in the way of what we actually must do in our lives. And this is why we feel so empty. This is why we feel like no matter what we do, we cannot get to a point where we are fulfilled. We are constantly being influenced and programmed by everyone and everything around us. Many opinions, many ideas are constantly trying to get into our head. And so we hear this and we experience this in our everyday life, and then we take it in as an idea we hold for ourselves, rather than coming up with our own original ideas and beliefs. Generally, our ideas and beliefs just come from the outside, from what we see and what we experience. In order to hear our intuition, we have to learn to remove all of the other noise that has been placed in our head by others or our outside experiences. This is how we can hear that still small voice that will guide us to wherever we're supposed to be. Now, the right side of the brain is the area where you feel the most. This is the emotional side of our being. So when somebody says, follow your heart, this is what they generally mean. Now, our heart is located in the chest. And it's no coincidence that a treasure chest has gold in it. That's where the treasure is. So when you follow your heart, you will always be led to the treasure, where you're supposed to go, or having a feeling of fulfillment. Like, this is what you are supposed to be doing. This is it. I have found it. You found the treasure by following your intuition, by following your feeling. God was always described as someone that guided you with a still small voice, or a whisper. And now here's a story describing how to follow your intuition. And I'm going to break it down on how it applies to yourself and how to follow your intuition by hearing those still small whispers. This story is called Maya and the Whispering Wind. And it goes like this. Once upon a time, in a quaint village nestled between rolling hills and a sparkling river, there lived a young girl named Maya. She had a special gift, an extraordinary ability to hear the whispers of the wind. From her earliest memories, the gentle breezes and roaring gusts had shared their secrets with her. Maya's gift was known throughout the village, and the people often sought her guidance when they needed to make an important decision. The villagers believed that the wind carried the wisdom of the ancients, and Maya was their bridge to that ancient knowledge. One breezy evening, as the sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, an elderly woman named Lila approached Maya. She was troubled by a difficult choice she had to make, one that would affect the future of her family and the village. "Dear Maya," Lila began, "I have a choice to make, and I'm torn between two paths. I don't know which one is right." Maya nodded sympathetically and closed her eyes, feeling the wind's gentle caress on her skin. The whispers of the wind grew stronger, and soon she could hear their voices clearly. They told her stories of ancient wisdom and guided her towards the answers Lila sought. With a serene smile, Maya turned to Lila and spoke. "The wind tells me that the right path is the one that aligns with your heart's deepest desires and the well-being of the village. Follow your intuition and you will find the way." Lila thanked Maya and left with a newfound sense of clarity. Maya's gift continued to be a guiding light for her village, helping people make choices that brought harmony and prosperity to their lives. As the years passed, the village flourished, and Maya's reputation as the wind whisperer spread far and wide. Travelers from distant lands would seek her wisdom, and she would listen to the winds, deciphering their messages with grace and humility. One stormy night, a stranger named Aiden arrived in the village. He had heard of Maya's gift and had traveled a great distance to seek her counsel. Aiden's heart was heavy with a decision he couldn't make alone, whether to leave his homeland, which was suffering from drought, and seek a new life in the lush valleys of Maya's village. Maya invited Aiden into her modest home, where the firelight flickered and shadows danced on the walls. She listened to his story, and the winds outside howled in agreement. It was a sign that her gift recognized the weight of his decision. For hours, Maya communed with the wind, her heart open to its whispers. When she finally spoke, her voice carried the wisdom of the ages. "The wind tells me that your heart longs for a better life, one filled with abundance and hope. Follow the whispers in your heart, Aiden, and may they lead you to a brighter tomorrow." Aiden was deeply grateful for Maya's guidance. With newfound determination, he set off on a journey with his family, leaving behind the arid land that had been their home for generations. They arrived in the lush valley, and there they found the prosperity and hope they had longed for. Word of Maya's gift reached the far corners of the world, and people came from near and far to seek her wisdom. Her village grew into a thriving town, and her home became a sanctuary of knowledge and harmony. Maya's gift was not just a source of guidance, it was a beacon of hope, and a reminder that even in the whispers of the wind, there lay ancient wisdom waiting to be heard. And so the story of Maya, the wind whisperer, became a cherished legend, a testament to the power of listening to one's heart and connecting with the natural world. Maya's gift continued to touch the lives of many, reminding them that the answers to life's most profound questions often come from the gentle whispers of the winds and the depths of the human spirit. We are all Maya, which describes how we must listen to those whispers of the wind in order for us to make the right choice in our life. The winds will always guide us to where we're supposed to be. Now, the wind is something that you cannot see. It is something that you cannot visually experience, but you feel it. And this is our intuition, because it will guide us there, but it's not something that we have proof of necessarily. When we're constantly making decisions off of evidence or proof, we're using the other side of our brain, which is logical. And when it comes down to making a choice, the right choice, we must use our right side of the brain. Our intuition will guide us there, not our left side. Following your intuition and following your heart will always lead you into the lush land. It will always take you away from the desert, that place where you've been suffering for the majority of your life. You already know that you don't want to suffer, that you want to be in a better state in your life. And your mind will always take you there, the right choice. And this is where God is. And this is where Jesus is metaphorically. He sits on the right hand of God. Where God is, Jesus sits at the right hand of God. Again, the right. It is said that Satan sat at the left. And this is why he's described as the God of this world. It's not to say that he is this evil entity thing that is always trying to harm you. It's just that if you follow what you can see, with your five senses, what you can see, hear, and experience all the time, it will lead you away from the right, which is the left, which is not right. So all of these ideas are telling you the same thing. To make the right choice is to just follow your intuition. Use your own mentality. Get rid of all of the rubble you have in your head and follow those whispers inside of you. They will lead you where you're supposed to be. Only you know what that is. But in order for you to know, remove all of the old ideas, remove all of the clutter, because that's what's stopping you. That's the only thing. And then you'll be able to hear the whispers. We're all Maya. We're all hearers of the wind. It's not a coincidence that her name is Maya as well. Maya is an alternate name of the Hindu goddess Lakshmi, and she is the goddess of wealth, fortune, power, beauty, and prosperity. And she dwells in every single one of us, waiting to guide us. Intuition is God speaking directly to you. When you pray, you can say that you are asking for something. You are calling God. And then when intuition comes and knocks on the door, He's coming and returning the call with an answer. And here is a quote by Florence Scovel Shinn, which illustrates this even further. It says, "Intuition is a spiritual faculty and does not explain, but simply points the way." This describes the story we just read perfectly, because we cannot always tell other people what the right thing to do is. But this is what we do many times, and this is what is told to us. We're just told, you should do this. But nobody can really tell you what is best for you. Ultimately, that decision is up to that person to make. Everyone must learn to use their intuition and to develop their intuition so that they can feel fulfilled, feel happy, feel satisfied, no longer looking for something, but just feeling fulfilled, just existing. Because when you always follow the right path, there is no need for you to accomplish anything per se. Because when you are on the right path, that in itself is fulfilling. That in itself is where you are satisfied. You have all the answers. You can achieve that state, but maybe you can't hear because you have too much clutter in your head. Maybe you're always thinking about what you're supposed to be doing. You're constantly thinking, what is the right thing to do? And all this does is cause more noise. If you've ever tried calling somebody in a very crowded room, you cannot hear the phone. So you're on the phone and there's a whole bunch of noise happening around you. You cannot hear. It's very similar to this. You have to get outside of where you're at, go somewhere quiet, and then talk to the person. This is what intuition is. You have to go someplace quiet, and this is where meditation comes in. The reason meditation works so well in developing intuition is because you close your eyes to the outside world. You go inward, where you can develop intuition. And the way you do this is you just find someplace comfortable and close your eyes. And then you would let your mind just play out the things it usually does, but you do your best not to give them any attention. Because these are just things that play in the background. This is all the noise that just lives in there, that just exists without you even thinking about it in your subconscious mind. Now, the quieter you are, and the more you allow these things to just pass on their own, the quicker you will realize that there is something underneath all of these things. And that little quiet voice is your intuition that will lead you where you need to be. Essentially, all quieting your mind means is getting rid of those old ideas, because all of that is just considered clutter. Your mind is like a house, and when you have a lot of ideas and a lot of clutter, it's like being a hoarder. If you've seen the show Hoarders, you know what it looks like. It's just a house full of garbage, full of things that maybe were once useful, but now it's too much. You need to clean out house. You need to do some spring cleaning, remove everything in there, and start over. Then once your house is clean, once it's quiet in there, then you will be able to hear. You'll be able to listen. Then you don't have to think so hard. You don't have to try to work so hard anymore. You have your mind to work with you, to guide you. And now it's a union. You don't have to fight anymore. You don't have to try to make your mind work for you, find motivation. You can just do it naturally. And then your mind will work with you and for you to accomplish the goals that you want. Your mind is waiting for you to do this. It's trying to speak to you. But as I mentioned before, it's like calling someone on the phone and being in a loud, crowded room. It's trying to speak with you, and it's just waiting for you to step out and get into that quiet state so that you can listen to it. If you guys have any questions, as always, you can leave a comment in the comment section below. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you guys have. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.